Hey, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours Arbitrage. This is season 3, episode 5. I have a special guest. AI Joe is finally joining us live. Not in person, but on Zoom. Good enough. Joe, thanks a lot for hopping on. I appreciate you doing it. I also want to start by thanking you for your Numerai dashboard. It's quite a handy tool that you created for us all. I really, really appreciate that. I'm sure everybody agrees. We are live on Twitch, so hello, Twitch fam. Thanks for tuning in. And AI Joe, I hear you have a presentation to make for us before I get into our interview questions.
Yeah, in fact, it's for all the questions that you want to ask me. So let me just share my screen. All right, so you can ask me something personal first. So you can ask me who I am, where do I live, anything you want to know about me. And I should have a slide for that.
Sweet. Well, yeah, let's do that. Let's go with those. Let's get to know you a little bit. So Joe, where do you live?
No, the short answer is London. But
nice.
No, I live somewhere inside that circle.
Somewhere
so it's
inside
between,
the circle.
Reading and London, somewhere between that. But no, for anyone outside the UK, no, London is close enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. In June a year ago, I was in London for the Crypto Compare conference, and I spent several days in Brighton. So
nice.
So you live in London. What do you do for a living, AI Joe?
Okay, that will be the next slide. You can see it. So you may know I work for a company called H2Oai. It's a software company in the US. So I've been with them for nearly 4.5 years now. So I'm the first guy in UK. So when I first joined, I'm just a data scientist. But my boss told me, "Hey Joe, you're the only guy there. You have to do almost everything." So I've been trying to build the community, try to do the sales engineering, try to do customer facing stuff. No, a bit of everything in the Europe for them. And in doing so, I tried visit quite a few places. So maybe 40 plus cities in Europe, US, and Asia. I did a lot of H2O talks and workshops. I lost count, so I just put 100 plus, but could be a lot more. But the thing that I did in London is I built a large community of 11,000 people for the meetup. So it's also the biggest within H2O. So it's one of my proud achievement for H2O.
I would say 11,000 community members. That's a pretty strong social network that you've developed. That's very good. That's awesome. You should get just 10% of them to come join Numerai.
I'm trying.
Number of submissions. That'd be pretty dope. What compelled you to pursue your current job?
Yeah, so let me skip to the next one. So this is back in 2014, back when I was studying like water management and other stuff, and I try to teach myself open source tools because I've been using Microsoft Office to create the charts, create all the tables. It was a bit boring, and at some point I got fed up, and I taught myself some other tools. Nice. And somehow I got into a conference. It was 2014 in LA. So that was the conference at UCLA. So that was the first time I saw H2O. They talk about H2O, how you can use it with R, how you can make it scalable. So I came back to UK and I wrote a blog about it, and they like it. So I also get in touch with another company called Domino Data Labs. So it's not the pizza domino, it's the data science domino.
Oh man, I was hoping you were going to give us all coupons for free Domino's pizza.
No.
Someday, that's like squad goals.
Yeah. Maybe next time. Yeah. That's how it got together. So I wrote a blog post about how to use all these different tools together for cargo. And somehow I joined both of them. So I joined Domino first, and then in 2016, I joined H2O.
Nice. So show me what I'm looking at here.
So this is actually, I want to show, and I want to talk about my past 4.5 years, because I visit a lot of places. So I got the swag from H2O. It's like a stress ball with the brain, H2O brain. So I try to bring it with me whenever I visit a new place. So different cities, try to go to the landmark, try to take a photo of the landmark with the H2O swag. And that's what I've been doing. And then I'm also doing a lot of what we call the 360 selfie. So I got a special camera, small stick, that I can just take a photo of almost everyone in the room when I give a talk.
So you travel and give speeches for fun, but really, what else do you do for fun?
Yeah, so it's also about traveling. So let me just go to my slide here. But this is before the pandemic, so I
Yeah, it
travel a
feels
lot
bad, man.
for work, and then even though the time that I have in the UK is not much, I still try to organize a holiday for my family as well. So I want to bring my wife and kid to see the world as much as possible. But this is all history now. This is all before pandemic. So right now we got the virtual reality helmet. I can so my kids. So this is Tokyo. This is other places.
So I have another question that's kind of related. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you, sir?
I don't know. You tell you tell me. I can I can just say that I'm a normal guy and I give you a 5 rating. So you have to tell me after a few more months. And okay, when you get to know me a bit better, then you can tell me.
Well, you got to come around and hang out on the office hours more often.
Okay.
And then we can definitely get to know you. And then maybe join me for a daily scores and chill if you have time sometime. Because I do that, what is it, 1300 UTC, whatever time that is for you. And you're fairly closer than I am, that's for sure, to JRB. You guys ought to try to find a way to have a pint.
Yeah, so I visit Dublin. Yeah, same time zone, and I visit Dublin 3 times or 4 times in the last few years. And every time I had a delay of my flight, because of a hurricane, and then it was a storm Emma. So it was really bad when I visit Dublin. So my friends in Dublin say, don't come to Dublin, because every time you came here, you brought the bad weather with you.
Oh boy, yeah, that's no bueno. So you won't say how weird you are, and so I'll just have to take the average and say that you're probably about a 5 out of 10, because I just
5, yeah, 5 will do for now.
5 will do.
You can update it later.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. AI Joe, what are you not very good at?
That's easy. I'm I'm not good at this. That's what my wife said. So I have a selective hearing, so I can. That's
funny. That's funny.
But I try. I also try. So when you need to do customer facing events, you still have to listen, right? But maybe on daytime, I'm not very good.
Yeah, I'd say my ability to listen correlates negatively with fatigue. So the more tired I am, the harder it is for me to listen. So I can relate. My dad has selective hearing, and so I think that is possibly genetic, because it happens to me too. That's funny. How about this one? One more, and then I'll let you do your presentation. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Yeah, that's easy. That's what I've been talking for a long time. Just don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a photo and a code with it. Because we are in a generation of like bite-sized information. Everything is bite-sized. So spot on the screen, you saw the headline, and then you believe everything. But they also happen to my friends, to my family, sometimes to myself as well. So I want people to really think about it before they make the conclusion.
Yeah, because I doubt Abraham Lincoln actually said that. So that's a good point, especially with all the deep fakes and things going on. That's a good billboard. I like that. I think everybody needs a reminder every now and then, things like that. So AI Joe, why don't you take it away, my friend? Tell us about your AutoML.
Yeah. So I can also tell you a bit more about myself and Numerai. So how do I get started? So same questions that you sent me, right? So
okay, yeah, sure. If you want to follow that format, sure. So I can keep going. You tell me when you take over. When did you start participating?
Yeah, so back in so the first time I actually joined Numerai is back in 2016. It was a long time ago, and I heard about this company on these competitions from other calculators at the time. So I joined. I tried to submit a few times. I submit the submissions to do competitions, but I didn't spend too much time on it back in 2016. So I stopped, and then I started traveling a lot for work, and then everyone stopped in March, and that was the time that I somehow I googled your office hour. It was you as Anthony, and the blog. So I read about it, and then I look at the data set again, and the data set for Katsuki is so different than the first time I saw it. So I tried it, and I feel like I can kind of make some predictions, like kind of okay predictions this time. So I start spending a lot more time on it. So that was back in March, mid-March. So again, I think it's the pandemic was the main reason that I rediscover Numerai. I don't know whether it's a good reason or bad, but that's how.
Hey, I mean, whatever brings you back. I think that's totally fine. Some people take a break and come back. Others were like parasites or something. Richard can't get rid of us. So I don't know what he's going to do to get rid of me, but it's going to be pretty tough. But that's cool. I'm glad that you picked up on office hours. That is a very interesting timing. Now that I look at what you have on the screen there, March 5th was my first office hours just before the shutdown. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd been thinking about doing this for quite a long time prior to actually doing it. And NJ and I were just talking in RocketChat, and I said, look, I'm just going to do it. Let's stop talking about it and let's just do it and see what happens. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I learned so much from everybody and the great presentations that we've had over the several months now. I just wish I had more people to interview. I'm starting to run out, and people keep saying no. So quit saying no, people. This is fun. This is very, very interesting. We learn things. That's really neat. So I'm also looking at your start date, September 24th. So you started 5 months after I did, but still in 2016. How big was your gap from, you say you stopped traveling and rediscovered. So when did you, how long was your gap?
So I think I started really traveling like crazy in 2017. So again, September is like the time I just have a quick look. I try a few things, but then I kind of gave up.
Right.
So not really about the travel, but then I actually start traveling for 3 years nonstop. But yeah, this is the time that I got back and rediscover this competition.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So how did you originally find out about Numerai?
It just way back just from Chicago. So I got
okay.
other friends from Chicago, so they talk about this is a new thing, and then yeah.
Sorry. I have too many screens and I'm getting pulled around with my eyes everywhere. So, all right. So we got that. What do you wish you had known when you started out, though?
This function alone, this normalize and neutralize. So I kind of ignored it because I built my pipeline back in like April, March. So I was happy with the pipeline. I was happy with the performance of the model. So they're doing okay. They're not burning. So so I kind of ignored this for a long time until the recent burn. So the last month you got really, really long period of burns.
Yeah.
And I have to go back. And it's also the time that we have to know me new target. So I say, let's go back and try to retrain the model. We look at the problem again. And then finally, this is also one of the key things that I wish I don't before, or I submit the first submissions. This is quite useful, when I look at the prediction now, when I normalize them, they get more stable. They have a lower correlation with the target, but they are more stable. So that's what I really want. So I wish I knew that.
Okay. So you buy into feature neutralization. That's been a topic of discussion for several weeks now. I have not bought in, but I intend on trying it out when Nomi gets released as our scoring metric. I'll use the new 5 models positions to test some of that out as an A/B test. I haven't had a chance to do that because I had all 10 models developed. And now I'm A/B testing Nomi versus Kazutsugi to see if I'm pleased or not. So I'm a little jammed up with that. So that's interesting that you pick this as your wish you had known piece. That's very interesting to me. It makes me wonder. So I gotta pay attention when people do things like that. It makes me think real hard. So then, why do you think people quit the tournament? You quit the tournament for a while, but what other reasons do you think people have? Yep.
I guess if you have a series of unfortunate consequences of the bad model, a long period of burns, then I think you just you may have lost interest in stacking of your model. But I think that will also make me think that, so when I had the last month I have a few burns, that actually made me think, okay, it's not about the tournament. It's all about my own model. It's just I didn't do it in the right way. So but if the burn was really, really serious, like I lost half of my stake, then you could just that is it. I want to quit. I want to take my stake and go home.
I want to take my ball and go home. No, I understand that feeling entirely. And yeah, expectation versus reality, you're 100% correct. This is the most difficult machine learning tournament in the world. And to expect only good results is just absurd. We had a good run, and I was saying that we needed to have some burns for a long time, and we got it. It was very informative. Thankfully, it didn't last too long. Thankfully, the scores weren't too bad for most people, but yeah, I hope it didn't scare too many off, and hope people learned from it. Yeah, minimizing your drawdown is extremely important. And how do you do that? Well, that's still an open question. Perhaps feature neutralization, but there may be other ways too. So that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I don't think there's anything the team can do to help people not burn, except to just be open with different ways of modeling and to discuss it like we do. So what are your top 3 tips for the tournament?
Let's see.
Because I think that's why most people are tuning in.
Yeah, so this is, I think it's more general for any data science project. So it applies to me because I want to automate as much as possible, as early as possible. So you have more bandwidth, in the later weeks that you can try different things. So I said, if you first start with this tournament, try to build your machine learning pipeline as early as possible. Just make it into different small modules. So you can change your modeling stuff, you can change your scoring stuff. But if you have a pipeline, then you don't have to rush to redo the whole thing just before the deadline. And that's when you make mistake, if you have to hit the deadline.
Right.
So that's the first one. The second one is I use this all the time. I want to use version control. GitHub, you can use the private repository to look at all the versions in the past. So if I want to go back to my very first model, I could do that. I wouldn't do it, but I could if I have version control, right? And it also makes sense if you have the comments with different versions, so you know what you have tried it before.
So take notes is another way of saying version control.
Yeah.
That's been a common theme for people. I know Rudy, our exoplanet hunter, definitely said take good notes was an important thing. And we all showed our notebooks. So yeah, I completely agree. I should use GitHub more. I don't, because I mostly use notebooks, but I do take decent notes at least. I don't know. I could be better. I think we all could be better even if you use GitHub. But that's a good tip. So tell me about your third one here.
So this is very strange. Sorry about my voice.
Oh, no worries.
This is like there's stuff that I wouldn't even think about it. For the other competitions like neutralizations. Why would you lower your mean score? Why would you do that? Yeah, like for cargo, this wouldn't work because you don't want you want one single snapshot of the highest score, right?
Right.
But Numerai is different. You're looking for a long-term stability, long-term consistent performance.
Yep.
But you can sacrifice your mean correlations with less drawdown, and that's something that you need to think about. Some crazy, different, strange idea for these competitions. So you can still use the normal like cross validation, other model training stuff, but for this one you have to try something different.
Okay, that's dope. So those are good tips. I like it. Keep trying new and strange ideas. I would just add, do it in a scientific way, right? Have a hypothesis. Well, I think this will improve based on what I already have, and then test that hypothesis. That way you're not just throwing things around. In Zoom chat, JRB says you can use Git with notebooks. Check out NBDime. Christian says you can include some code in your notebook to start them directly by click from GitHub in Colab. I do that, Christian, for the notebooks that I share either in Twitch or in the forum. So yes, those are all very helpful. Let's see here. So what about your number one feature request or improvement for the tournament? This should be good. Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Same thing that you guys have been asking for. I know it's complicated, so I can do it on my spreadsheet. I know you can't just do it, for the whole system. So I know Anthony is working on it.
Yeah.
All the edge cases he's thinking about. It's not easy. It's really, really complicated.
Definitely.
But at some point, if they make it happen, it'll be much more easier for people to try to get the payout from one model to the other one, stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed in RocketChat somebody called you out for having strange withdrawal requests, but
yeah,
you revealed that you're trying to do something that I'm also trying to do, and that's to keep a stable stake amount.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you constantly have this withdrawal pending. So can you share a little bit about that? Like what's your motivation for keeping your stake exactly flat?
Because of the burn, in the last few weeks. So I try to make sure that I have a new model with Nomi and with the feature initializations that's quite stable, that I'm happy with. Then I can just throw it back to, pump it back to the whole stake for the compound return. So for now, I'm sacrificing the compound return for a less risky stake, the model. So, but that's the way that I figure out. So I wouldn't understand it if I just joined Numerai. I say, how can you withdraw so many times with the same kind of money? But I think that could be some improvement for the UI, saying that if you have strike out stake, so you cancel it, you got some information about your cancel stake in the previous round. So people can say, okay, you actually cancel it, and then we change it again. But we'll see. For now, I'm okay with the logic, but I don't think the new user can understand that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. I mean, we have to get them to the point to understand staking before we can talk about withdrawals and everything like that. So, but I'm glad you agree that managing stake needs a little work. That's something I talk about all the time, and I wonder. Oh boy. Anyway, I digress. How about a controversial question? Who's your favorite team member?
Right. So let me show you this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got it from Dr. J.
Okay.
So he's definitely my favorite member.
Yep.
And the book as well. Yeah. Thank you,
Dropping
NJ.
the swag. So she bought your vote. So I don't know if we're going to count that. I'm going to have a discussion with the folks and see if we're going to count it, because it doesn't seem fair if she can buy votes like this. But no, I think it's pretty dope. I think it's cool that she was able to send it out to people too. Suraj got his package recently, I think. So that's pretty cool. Awesome. So how about this one? Where do you get new ideas for your models?
From you guys. No, from you. For forum, RocketChat, and then your Twitch channel. Sometimes you don't have enough time to digest everything at the same time. So it takes time for you to go through different posts in the forum, message in the chat box. It takes time, but that is the main source for now, because this competition is quite different from other like cargo competitions. So the problem is quite unique in a way that you want to have some kind of stability in the model in terms of just a snapshot performance, for the leaderboard like cargo. So the thing that you need to do is also quite different. So the only source that I found it, from the internet, it's just here. It's just from the same community. So I don't think I can find too many other new ideas that I can use from the other forum.
It's a really rich problem set. We're fighting over less than 5,000 actual stocks, right? We're trying to find different ways of making money from those stocks. And the range of methodologies that people talk about just within a single week is overwhelming. I completely agree. But I think that speaks to the richness of the community in terms of our willingness to discuss things without giving away the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
That's also a very unique thing, because there's no financial incentive for us to share ideas, but we still have a benefit from those diverse opinions, because if we're all doing the same methodology, it doesn't really help anything. We kind of want everybody to be a little different. And so I think it's a good thing. And I'm really glad that the Twitch videos are helpful. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah. I'm really glad. What are you working on now in terms of your models? You have 15 spots. So what's up? What you doing?
Yeah. So it's the same thing that I talked about earlier. So what is the right way to neutralize the final predictions? So I create a new H2Oai slot. So you can see that I'm trying to use a different proportion of the neutralizations. Cool. And wait for a few weeks and see which one is the best one. So for now, I'm trying to use the lowest risk, so with 100% neutralizations for my main account, the IAI. And this is just based on the lowest feature exposure. I may be wrong, so I want to see for a few weeks and then how it goes.
Yeah.
So I didn't do the same thing for the previous one, so 231 or 230. 230. And I think I got some early promise from those I neutralized. So for the sweet spot, the parachute, and the razor, I neutralize them half of them, and then they show a bit more performance in both core and MMC. But that's only based on a few data points, so I can't really say too much about it.
Okay. Understand. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ever gonna ask somebody to give away their secret sauce, especially if they have a profitable model. But I appreciate you sharing all that. I mean, that's far more detail than I give for my stuff. I just say this is correlated with this. Like that's very interesting. And you're basically doing what I would like to do in my 5 models, is to test different feature neutralizations on a single account, right? Because to see how it performs and then kind of collect some data over time on it. I definitely don't intend on staking on 15 accounts. I don't think there's a reason for that. But maybe 5. Ideally, I'd like to have 5 accounts with heavy stakes and then some stakes on accounts that are kind of testing out. What advice would you give to someone who wants to become a data scientist?
Yeah, so
I think you're a great person to ask this, actually.
So this is based on my own experience in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't say I was a civil engineer. I was like an old school traditional engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I taught myself some of the open source tool, Python and R, and then what I did was to think about how can I promote myself, right? So I try to get my hands dirty. So find some of the interesting data set that you can use, like public data set that you can use. So even better if you can find an API, so you can show how you use the code to get data from API to your project, and try to answer some specific questions with the data, code, and your imagination, your creativity. And then open source, when it's almost ready, you can open source a project on GitHub, tell people about it, you can blog about it, tweet about it, any way that you can share with your people. Then with some luck, so you still have some luck, and then the rest will follow. So on the right hand side, you can see some of my project before I joined H2O. Cool. So nothing really serious. Just try to use API to get data from other servers, try to put them together as an application, and so that you can use this to answer some questions. That's it, something simple. But that kind of proves that if you put it on GitHub, people can see how you actually approach this problem, how you actually write the code to answer the questions. And that's where it's better than having like 1,000 of certificates from online course. Say, I finished this AI course and then got a badge.
Right, yeah. Especially, courses, sometimes they give you code or, kind of hold your hand through the project. If you do an independent project with no guidance and show how you did it, explain hey, I ran into a problem, this is how I solved it. People like to see that. So I completely agree. Especially with people working from home and potentially, a lot of people got laid off. Let's just say it, right? A lot of people aren't working right now. And this kind of stuff is important. It builds your brand. So thank you very much for independently verifying things that I tell my students. I will definitely be referencing this in the future. So thank you. If you could step into my shoes, AI Joe, what would you ask yourself that I haven't already?
Yep. So get back to your first slide. 1 second.
No worries.
Yeah. So I remember, back in like last month, you guys had problems saying, that guy, the H2O guy, you can't remember, right? That was because I tried to use like a text emoji face when I registered first account back in 2016. So I tried to do something funny, but I couldn't. So I tried to do something similar, but not with the letter. So IA_AI is like a face. But there was no meaning, just a text face. So that's how I got my username.
That's hilarious. I'm a big fan of AI Joe. It just reminds me of G.I. Joe, and it's like an action figure, and we could totally do an AI Joe action figure, and I think it would be dope. So I would just run with that because it's super cool, and I'm a big fan. But I see now it's pretty clear it's like an emoji face thing. It is a bummer that you couldn't pull it off. I like the Lenny face. That one's my favorite. Lenny. That's pretty cool. Do you have any like book or paper recommendations for the folks?
I don't. So, but I haven't finished this book yet.
Okay, so you're still reading Marcos's book, yeah.
But I think that some of the concept is quite useful. When you think about how to make a model more stable in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still going through this. I think this is the most relevant book for our tournament.
Okay. Hey, that's cool. I've said publicly I don't read for fun because all I do is read academic papers because I'm a PhD candidate. So I don't get a lot of time to sit down and read new stuff. So I have not read that book yet. I did glance through it. I hope someday to be able to sit down and read for fun. I'm just not sure it's going to be about finance. You'll have to give me the opportunity to read something else for a change. So thanks. Is there anything else you want to talk about before you do your AutoML slides?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, cool.
Let me see how much time we got. Okay, I will just do a really quick version of the talk that I gave 2 weeks ago. So this is really about sharing my experience. This is not about selling software. So I'm not the sales guy here. So just try to share what I did for Numerai. Because I also work for H2O, so I have the software. This is like the tool that I like to use. But this, I think the whole thinking of this pipeline is also applicable to any other framework. Just one slide for marketing. So this is our product. So it's a platform. We have open source product. We also have the closed source product. The one that I use is called H2Oai. The one here I want to show. The reason is that there are a few steps that I can automate, throughout this normal workflow. So I would call this a normal or typical machine learning workflow. So you start from data, and then you do some analysis, you do some feature engineering, you put it back, and then you try to train different models, and then try to understand what the models are doing, and finally you try to deploy the model. Right? This is such a simple workflow. But what our softwares can do is to automate most of the stuff, in this yellow box here. And it's quite easy for new users just to try JavaScript AI with Numerai because the data is clean. It's just a table with no missing data. So
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. So you just download it and then check in, and you can see what's going on. But of course, this is only for the beginner. I don't just use that. So this is just a joke. So because we have GPU support, and then if you have GPUs, then it's also useful to use JavaScript AI to accelerate model training. But let's get back to my own example. So how do I combine different tools together? So I got JavaScript AI as the model training step, but I use other package in R to combine as the pipeline. So just try to automate the whole thing so I don't have to worry about it during the week. The goal is just to relax and then just profit, right? So I'll break down into 3 sections: so training, and then scoring and monitoring. The training step is just very similar to everything else. So you download data from Numerai, you do your own munging. The only difference is that I use JavaScript AI as the training platform. So I got the models from JavaScript AI, and then the next step I did was trying to constrain some of the outcomes. For example, when I do a simple average of the models, some of them may have a massive drawdown. So I want to optimize it in a way I can combine different models together and try to reduce the risk. And that's what I did for my first 10 models. And because I can use Python or R to interact with JavaScript AI, so some of people may have seen the presentation before, so I can use the graphical interface to do it. But for me, I will use scripting language to automate that step. And mainly, I want to get the outcome from different experiments. So this is like, for example, I want experiments on just light GVM or XGBoost. So I just want to get the model out. I got a model which is like a scoring engine that I can reuse for the future. So I can use the same thing to score any new data set. And I also get like a nice report. So I got a report of what the things that the software has tried. So what kind of different settings it has tried, or hyperparameters it has tried. So all kind of different stuff is automated. That. Yeah. So this is like now, if you don't think about just Numerai, you think about other like business projects. So you may have kind of different business question to ask every time from different kinds. If you want to do the same thing for different projects, it will take a long time. So you have to think about the feature engineering, think about tuning of the model, think about doing the audit, so reporting the model. So this is all automated, so it actually saves a lot of time for different data science projects. And this is actually the most, I think the most interesting thing in my project is that I try to be different. I don't want to just get the outcome from Jarvis AI. So if you look at the left-hand side here, this is like, say I have 10 models. I have maybe 5 neural networks on 5 G-based model, maybe 8 GPUs.
Sure.
So if I just do a simple average of them, then I will see something like this. So you can just like, very similar to the example prediction. So the dotted line here, if you can see the dotted line, is the example predictions.
Okay.
So if I just do a simple average, they're just almost the same. But they have a lot of like drawdown, so I don't like them. So what I did is that I use the same model, but I can optimize the weight of different models. So some maybe have higher weight, some of the lower weight. And altogether, when I combine the base model with the different weight, then they will have a different profile. So this one here will have a lower correlations, the mean correlations, but they, if you look at the shape and then the sharp ratio, they are more stable. And that's what I try to do with different accounts. So try different things. So sometimes I optimize for just the mean correlation, sometimes optimize for less drawdown, sometimes optimize for Sortino ratio. So that's how I try different things with the same basic model. I hope it makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, I like it a lot. That's really neat. I bet you're not the only one doing something like that. You're just willing to show that you are doing it.
Yeah, so I think the first, back in, when I first rejoined Numerai back in March, I was submitting just a single model, just out of the box Jarvis AI model. So that's very similar to, very highly correlated to the meta model.
Right.
So I think that is just like, okay, it's just similar to the XGBoost. So it's just the XGBoost, but tuned XGBoost. So I don't want that. So I want to try something different. So I think there was one question in Slido saying, did I have a model just out of the box Jarvis AI? The answer was yes and no. I have it for 2 rounds, and then I got bored. So I tried different things like this optimization, and there was never like a long-term evaluations for just a pure Jarvis AI model. So I couldn't answer the question whether it would do better or not. I think it could do a lot better than just me trying to mess around with the weight. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Okay, so that is just my part of training the model and try to use different ways to optimize the different objectives. So then I got scoring, so I just reuse the files that I got from the experiment, use them in a way that I can like schedule a job, like a concept, and write a script. So every Sunday, just download the data from Numerai, do the munging, score the model, prepare the submissions, and upload it to the Numerai. Just something simple like that. But the cool thing here is that I got the push over notification. So it will send to my Apple Watch and say, beep, oh, you got it done. And you don't have to worry about it.
Nice. I probably could use something like that myself. I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, I had a problem with my compute. I got all jammed up, but oh, well, such is life. That's really neat. And you do that through, I don't think I've heard of pushover, but that's pretty interesting. Cool.
Yeah, just Google it. And then there's a API in Python, API in R, and you pay for one-off fee. I think it's less than $10. And then you can use it for almost everything. So whenever you train a model for a long time, when it finish, you can send yourself a notification.
Sweet. You said you do this on Sundays. Yeah, that's what I tell my students to do, because you're never late if you run it and submit on Sunday. And you also won't catch it at a bad time, because pretty much the data is available always on Sunday, but sometimes on Saturday it's a little late and it can mess up the compute timing. So yeah, I'm glad that you independently verified the advice I give my students. That's 2 times now. I appreciate that.
Okay. So then finally, this is like what guys have been using a lot, is the monitoring bit. So how can I compare myself or compare my models to anyone else, right? So that was the first questions I asked when Anson said, oh, do you have any feedback? Do you want to have any improvement? So because we're going to do a web up the website, and I suggest, can we compare our models to others? And the answer was no. so,
Yeah.
so I think, okay, you got the API, so maybe I can do it myself. So I did. So you guys have seen it. This is just the dashboard. The first reason I wanted to create this is just for myself, or just for my own comparison, right? So it was quick. And then later on, I found out that I can actually download all the models for each round, or for all the rounds. So I'll just say, hey, let me just put everything together, all the models together on the same page. It still takes a long time to load. You may recognize. So sometimes you take a few seconds to actually load it up. But I hope that is good enough for everyone to just compare their own model in a nice way.
No, it's very helpful. I use it all the time.
And this is new. This is what I added maybe last week or the week before.
2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because I got all the data, so every time when I refresh, so it's auto refresh every date, and then when I got the data, I could expose it in a nice way. So this time I haven't tried myself, but I think you can download it in CSV and in Excel or in PDF. So pretty cool, I guess.
No, I like it a lot. It's very good. Now, you calculated the percentiles, or was that provided through the API?
I calculated simple calculations.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what was provided by the API and what you calculated. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. So the API got the correlations, the MMC, the meta model correlations, and then the name of the model and the round.
Mm-hmm.
So I calculate the rest.
And I also like that you make it available for download. Thank you for that.
That's cool. So yeah, that's just a too long, don't read version. So automate your workflow, and you can relax. And then, so when you're ready, when you're happy with your prediction, you can stick on it, and then you can earn, and then you repeat every week.
Compound for the win.
So I think I will share the slide again after this. So, but you get all the links to different resources. I also got to say thank you for everyone in the community. I think we all have different opinions or different kind of techniques, different skills, different background. I guess that's what makes it magical when it comes to the meta model, and I think that's quite important.
I agree. And it's also fantastic because of the vast differences in prior education, life experience, and coding abilities and whatnot. The amount of sharing that is happening is a welcome change from what it used to be a little over a year ago. So I'm really happy with what's going on. And yeah, that's a fantastic picture because it encapsulates pretty much what's really going on. It's a whole bunch of different people all trying to contribute to the meta model. Yeah, Joe, thank you so much. But I'm gonna have to ask you to stick around because we got some questions. Anyway, so let's get to the question. Jeremy Barrows has a question. Without knowing all about auto ML platforms, training 100+ models on thousands of features raises my concern of overfitting. How does driverless AI manage that?
Oh, actually, I have the answer on my screen again. So if I can share my screen again, is that okay?
Sure. I'm a visual learner. I like this.
Can you guys see it?
Can now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, so all the things that we do with the products are based on experience from previous data science project for cargo. So we have acquired a few cargo masters. So what I try to do is to just use the same trick that they did for the previous project. So repeated cross validations, making sure that we don't have any leakage in the data. For example, if there's some information that you shouldn't have for the new data set, we wouldn't put them into training, something like that. So there are documentations and the blog posts about how we try to prevent overfitting. So I think it's a long kind of it's just the product is built on many years of combined experience from the whole team.
Can we add custom CV to driverless AI?
So no is the simple answer for now, because when you try to do the purge or embedded AOI's time series series, is a bit more complicated than the traditional cross validation. It's very simple. It's more useful for financial time series. But in this case, we're trying to do something that is not like the traditional time series and not like the other kind of traditional series. So the answer is no, because we didn't build a software specifically for Numerai. So it's quite generic, but I would say not yet, because it's also quite flexible in a way that I can kind of try to do some custom recipe, or we call it recipe. It's like how you inject different kind of Python code into the logic. So maybe in the next few months, I can figure out a way to do that and see whether it will help to improve the cost validation, how robust it is. But the short answer right now is no.
How about the next one? Curious about feature engineering.
Yeah, so we have a lot. So just imagine all the tricks from all the cargo guides in the past. So we try to just translate the brain, translate what they did in the past when they faced different cargo competitions, different problems, put it in the software, and make the software to try it, try it again and again, try different things. Because very often we don't know which transformer or which tricks would work on a new data set. So we try to automate this software so we can spend enough time to try different things and then see which one is the best for a given data set. And that's what we did. Also for Numerai, so I try to use it as an example for the last talk. So we try different things like how to use target encoding, how to do different clustering and stuff. And something that you could try yourself, you could actually do it manually. But then if you want to do all the combination, if you think about 310 features, if you want to try different combination for 300 features, that will take you a lot of time. And that is the value of the software. Try to automate that time-consuming part for the users so they don't have to do it themselves.
Right. Makes sense. Very cool. Somebody, anonymous, says they took a look at the slides and tried the hosted environment, but it's time limited. Is there a DAI pay-per-use version?
So we tried this model before. So pay as you go, right? So and it didn't work for the business. So we don't have that anymore. The best way to do it is to get a trial license for a month at a time, and then install Jo-fai AI on your own machine. So it could be on the cloud, could be on your own machine, and then try it as long as you want for that month.
Okay. Do you use H2O driverless AI out of the box? And we talked about that a little bit. Yeah. How did it do, though? We didn't talk about its actual performance. You said you got bored with it, but how was the performance?
Let me go back to my screen again. So the first 2 points here, you see the blue one, IAI. Those are the out-of-box Java's AI model. So you see that I joined at the time at around 204, which is the peak of everything. So I joined the first week and said, oh, you can get more than 10% return.
That was
and then I try again the second week. Oh, it's still more than 10%. So I have to do something different. I don't want to just stick with the box model. So that's why I tried everything and then go downhill and then went all the way downhill. But that was good because if it maintained the same kind of 10% every week, then there was no motivations for me to discover more from you guys and from how to reduce the burn from different kind of stability issues. But this is that's back when we didn't have the 10 account. So I refigured it. I didn't know that I could have multiple accounts. So I could have maybe 2 more, but I didn't do much about the 2 more. So I just used 1, and I couldn't really do a long-term testing of the out-of-the-box Java AI model. But for now,
maybe that's something to consider for the future once we get rolling with some more accounts. Ensign has said that it's possible we'll get more than just 15. It's just a matter of figuring out how to reduce the cost to the team. So we'll see. It's possible we'll get more. I don't know. Michael Oliver, you said you built a new model on Nomi that beats the meta model. How can you assure us? How can you assure us that you are not staking on it and stealing MMC from everybody else?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that question. I mean, the code I released the code I used to build this model, so it's up for grabs. Yeah. I'm really curious to see if anyone's actually tried to use the code I released for optimizing different cost functions like adjusted Sharp or doing the more targeted feature exposure reduction. I think it works. I think both those techniques, and especially combined, work great. And so that's what, yeah, I mean, my 3 top staked models have links to that code in their little bio thing at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all those models are. It tells exactly what they are.
Ooh, this one is a bit of a throwdown. This is a challenge, AI Joe. If H2O driverless AI is so good, I didn't write this, but let me just be very clear, because now I've read ahead a little bit. I did not write this question. It may appear that I did. I swear on all things holy, I did not write this question. If H2O driverless AI is so good, why are none of your models in the top 100? But it goes further. Even arbitrage students with no prior experience have made it in the top of the leaderboard. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
would
like
say
whoever wrote this question.
Yeah, it could be from our competitor. But I would say it was just my choice. I think it was my user error. It could be if I leave it out of the box, could be like go back to 100. But I didn't want to do just the same thing. I wanted to optimize it a bit. I like optimization and try something funky. But I do have hope for one of the models. So the Unburn and the other things, they're catching up. So I think Unburn ran up to top 100 and then go back down. But all the model they have a kind of stable rank. So my main model is about 200 all the time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Look, arbitrage was in the top 10 for a long time, and it's in the 213. I think it's ranked 213 right now. So feels bad, man. Look, what goes up must come down. There is mean reversion. AI Joe, thank you so much for hopping on. Please come back again, because that was really cool. I appreciate your presentation. Thank you so much for the dashboard, because I've used it quite a bit, and it actually is what made me look for more diversification among my models. So it caused me to do more work. And so I directly blame you for delaying my dissertation at least a month. That's all I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody hopping on. Special thanks to Michael Oliver for taking the flogging again. I'll have probably more for you next week. So, you might want to take some time, recover, hit the gym so you can take the beating better. Rudy, thanks for being on Twitch, and thanks everybody for tuning in.